Okay, you might have seen the Derek Lewis video. If I did post it before this, maybe I posted after. Maybe I posted on different days. Who knows? But I reported on some old news. Today I'm gonna talk about some more recent news that was brought to my attention by this website bloodyelbow.com that I also used on my Derek Lewis video. So to talk about this, first we got to start from the beginning. Obviously, Conor McGregor took the entire year of 2022 off after the injury he had when he fought Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. That's the first UFC pay-per-view I ever saw. He broke his leg when he stepped back. You've all seen the photos and the videos. I don't need to describe it to you. That was his second loss to Dustin Poirier. He lost the trilogy. TKO lost in the first round and everything. And this article talks about initially it seemed though as the Irishman was targeting a quick return to the cage. And obviously as a casual at the time, I thought, yeah, he's Conor McGregor. He'll come back. He's got what it takes to make his mark and make his comeback and prove the people that he still got it. And obviously that didn't happen. People were thinking, oh yeah, he'll come back in December. No, he'll come back in March. He'll come back in July. He'll come back next December or this December because it's 2022 December, but it's just never happened. And Conor McGregor tweeted recently that I'm clear for testing in February. So what does that mean? He's clear for testing in February. As some of you know, there's a very controversial fact that Conor McGregor was the only UFC fighter in 2022 to not be tested by USADA. Now, USADA is the United States Anti-Doping Agency. That's what USADA stands for. What they do, anti-doping. Doping is something like performance enhancers or steroids that will help a fighter's performance in fights by using illegal substances and putting them into their bodies to gain an unfair advantage. So what USADA does is they try to eliminate that, and anybody who gets caught using these performance enhancers or steroids, they either get suspended or they'll get cut from the UFC, and they won't be allowed to compete for some time because of these things. That's why USADA is a thing, is to make sure that fighters in the UFC do not go down the route of taking supplements or drugs or things like that to enhance their performance and gain an unfair advantage against their opponent. That's not allowed. And I already said USADA exists for that reason. So pretty much every UFC fighter has to get tested by USADA. Some get tested more often than others. Oh, excuse me, but obviously like Yuri Prohaska submitted the most tests. He did I forgot the number. It was something like in the 30s or 40s. He would submit those tests voluntarily, but this video isn't about him. You also see like Paulo Costa. He'll get tested at 5 a.m. You see on his Twitter, he always complains about USADA. You saw in his fight before Luke Rockhold, he complained about USADA. So you see fighters, everybody gets tested by USADA. Some people get tested more by USADA, so in turn some people get more annoyed by USADA. But you look at Conor McGregor, he's still in the He's still in the UFC roster. He's still a ranked UFC fighter. I think he's number 14 in the lightweight rankings right now. But he's not only the only ranked fighter to not get tested, he's the only fighter, period, to not be tested by USADA this year. Now, why is that? Nobody really knows the answer to that. Nobody yet knows the answer to why McGregor is not being tested by USADA in 2022. Until he tweeted this out, he finally gave some update to that. I'm clear for testing in February. I'll complete 2 tests per USADA, and we are booking a fight. So now we seem to have a more clear date and time. We can project a little bit of the time period when Conor McGregor might be able to fight again. And this person, this user, Dim Space, he was able to look into this more, and these tweets haven't gained too much traction yet. Bloody Elbow was able to bring it to my attention, but he states Conor confirms using prohibited substances while out of the pool. The clean samples provision applies if you admit prohibited substance, you can use your onboarding back into the pool. So what does that mean? Okay, let's look into his follow-up. The clause in question, 6 months and 2 clean samples, only applies if you admit to use of prohibited substances or method in your onboarding. So what does this mean? 6 months and 2 clean samples. Clear for testing in February. 2 tests, 2 samples, clean samples, and then USADA can book a fight. These two line up. The two tests, the 2 samples, it's the same thing. 6 months, 2 samples. Now, when does this apply? Only under one circumstance. It only applies if you admit that you are using prohibited substances that could be PEDs, performance enhancers, steroids, whatever. And if you read here, this is a clause from the United States Anti-Doping Agency. And you're a returning athlete who admits or has established a verifiable history of use, attempted use, or possession of, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, a non-specified method or a non-specified substance prohibited at all times by the UFC prohibited list, while the athlete was not subject to anti-doping policy, shall not be permitted to compete in UFC bouts, which is, valid, until she has made herself available for testing for a minimum period of 6 months after competing or 1 year after the athlete's last established use. Now, the whole 6 months thing has been said, I think it was said by Chael Sonnen. It's been said by Joe Rogan, I'm pretty sure, that a lot of people speculate, McGregor can just come back whenever he wants. That is not the case. You do need 6 months of... you need testing within those 6 months. You need to re-enter that USADA testing pool, which is what Henry Cejudo did. That's why he's waiting he's going through his months to try to come back and fight. He's not scheduled to fight, but he's in talks to fight Aljamain Sterling for that title. But when we look at McGregor, he does need those 6 months of being in the pool. Yet, it is currently November. He has not entered that pool. He's still not in the pool. He left the pool. He has not been tested in 2022. But he says he's clear for testing in February. So, where do we leave off? Last established use whenever. See bouts after a minimum period of 6 months before competing or after 1 year of athletes has established use, whichever is shorter. At USADA's discretion, such athletes may also be required to provide a minimum of 2 negative samples during the 6-month notice period before being cleared for competition. This provision shall not apply in situations in which the athlete's use of prohibited substance or method was pursuant to a valid TUE, or 2, USADA subsequently grants the athlete a TUE for the substance or method in question. What do we get from this with this article or this section in the Anti-Doping Agency is, so you need a minimum of 6 months in the pool. You need a notice, 6 months notice. In that time period, it has to be half a year. You also you are required to provide a minimum. That is the bare minimum. You need 2 samples to come out negative, which means that you're negative of any substances, which means you would have no performance enhancers or steroids or anything of that matter in your body. You need 2 clean samples. So you see this article right here, and you see what Conor McGregor said. I am clear for testing in February. I'll complete my 2 tests before USADA, and we are booking a fight. So What does this mean? This means that Conor McGregor, instead of re-entering USADA's pool and just doing whatever tests, he made sure to do the bare minimum, the least amount of tests that he could possibly do. 2 tests. And sure, he can do 2 tests if he wants to. He can do 100 tests if he wants to. But why would you choose the minimum amount of tests? It's a bit weird. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But you look at this and you look at his tweet and you can tell, like, yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it? And obviously you look at McGregor and you see McGregor here. He went from a natural 155, 170 pounder to just under 6 months after breaking his leg. He's already standing up straight. He's already perfectly good to go. He's jacked up 190 pounds in December of 2021. That was like almost a year ago now. So you saw this on I think it was on Joe Rogan podcast. They discussed leg breaks and how much time it takes to heal that. I don't have the podcast pulled up or pictures pulled up, or maybe I shouldn't have pictures pulled up of those leg breaks. But you saw Anderson Silva. They talked about this. You saw Anderson Silva's leg break and how he couldn't come back. He couldn't compete for a few years, and he was never the same athlete, right? You look at Chris Weidman. He has not competed since he broke his leg against Uriah Hall at UFC 261 on April 24th of 2021. It's like over a year and a half ago. He talked to one of the guys on that podcast. He confirmed that he's still not the same. He's still healing from that gruesome injury, that leg break. It just takes a long time to heal. So you look at Chris Weidman. In a year and a half's time, over like more than that, he has not been able to fully heal or recuperate his leg. But Conor McGregor, in 6 months, he's able to stand up perfectly fine. He's able to ride his bike. He's able to do leg kicks again. He's able to work out his legs. How? How in 6 months do you recuperate that fast? And they talked about the possibility, performance enhancers, or what I think is TRT, or these other. There's some PEDs or performance enhancers or steroids that they're able to, like, the doctors prescribe it to you, right? If you ever get some injury, sometimes if it's bad enough, a doctor could prescribe you some kind of performance enhancer. To what it does is it helps heal the injury faster. It helps to boost the process. It helps to make it happen quicker. So if Conor McGregor is healing up this fast, then a pretty good assumption is that he took some kind of performance enhancer to heal himself up. So what does this mean? He's not competing with these substances inside of him, even though he has gotten completely jacked. Maybe it's from these enhancers. Maybe it's because he confirmed that he ate 6 meals a day in just 6 months to get this physique. It's incredibly quick, so fast. I mean, that's why they call the Jim McGregor fast, I guess. But it's very reasonable to say that, to make that assumption that McGregor has taken steroids. I mean, before it was just like some assumption. Oh, McGregor, he's big, so he must be taking some kind of steroid. But there was never really any proof or any legitimate evidence or nothing to back up these claims, really. These are the claims here. This is damn good evidence that McGregor might have been using something in his time off. Now, of course, that's his time off and using something to recuperate. If the UFC lets it happen, if USADA lets it happen, then I guess it is what it is, because he's not competing against anyone with these unfair advantages. But the point still stands. I'm not saying anything. I'm just leaving the opinion up to the viewer. The viewer decides what they want to think about this whole situation. Do you think McGregor should be guilty of something? Do you think that I guess he was in the right to take these substances in his timeout? I'm gonna leave it up to you, but even though it's not proven 100%, I just want to say this is all speculation with my own little bit of evidence that I found off of somebody else. I'm just saying that me personally, I even though I do think that McGregor did take substances in his time off, and a lot of these tweets point back to that. I'm gonna leave it up to the viewer. Do you think McGregor took substances in his time off? And if he did, do you think he was in the right or was he in the wrong?